Okay, I guess we're ready. This is Charlotte Pierce. I'm the producer of Ready Row USA, and this is our continuing coverage of the USRowing Convention, where we met Dr. Ramona Cox of Doc Wayne. And most other people had heard of Doc Wayne. It was new to me at the convention, but now I know quite a bit about it, and we'll have you tell us more. Welcome to the show, and thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You're out in Detroit, and how did you get connected with rowing? I mean, I know that's not exact, or tell us a little bit about how, I guess, your background in sports and how you kind of came to be this expertise that you have now.
Sure. So again, my name is Ramona Cox, and I am the director of the Champions Network with Doc Wayne. And Doc Wayne is a sport-based therapy organization. We do group and individualized therapy for clients in the greater Boston area. But the Champions Network is our external training arm, where we do training with a lot of different organizations, people that come to us and want trainings on trauma-informed care, mental health. We also do trainings on specialized clientele like athletes of color, athletes that identify as LGBTQ+. And this allows us to spread the word not only across the nation, but also internationally. I have been playing sports pretty much all of my life, and that's how I have become, in this particular area. Most of my work has been in sport-based youth development. I am not a clinician. I'm not a therapist. My PhD is in sports psychology. A lot of the work that I had done previously had been in getting girls active in sports, getting them participating in sports, especially because I had seen and experienced a lot of the benefits of participating in sport. And a lot of those benefits are mental health benefits. And that's how I came across Doc Wayne, and I'm now working with Doc Wayne. I believe that this work that we're doing right now is very important, considering a lot of the things that are going on in the world. And we need to galvanize coaches, anyone that is working with youth, to be able to have the tools to help the youth that they're working with.
And do you find that coaches and like sports organizations are like latching onto this idea and kind of being more mindful of, especially girls, but all genders aware?
Yeah, absolutely. All of the youth that they're working with. Sometimes kids come to you with a lot of the things that are going on at home. And as coaches, and one of the things that I did not mention is that I'm currently a coach as well. So I don't have a background in rowing, but I am a volleyball coach. And there's no longer the ability to just come to the field or to the water or to the gym and just be a coach and teach the X's and O's and leave. There are additional responsibilities that come with that. And one of them is to support kids that are dealing with mental health issues. And so that's where we come in, where we supply tips on how to make their spaces more safe for the kids that they are serving.
And does this require a big investment of time and resources on the part of a sports organization, or is that seems like that should just be part of the cost of doing business, for lack of a better word? But
yeah, so I think that as a coach, you should always be trying to get better. So whatever it is that you need to do in terms of, professional development, you should always be getting better. We are offering our services to different organizations so that we can provide those professional development opportunities for coaches, because sometimes they are in those situations and they don't know what to do.
Right.
And so we want to give them ideas of what to look for when they have a situation with a kid that may be withdrawn and they may be dealing with something, but we want to give them, tips on what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
And they see something, what they can do, provide them with those resources. A lot of coaches don't have that. And again, that's where we come in and talk about, what is it that you're looking for in athletes that may be dealing with mental health issues? Where do those mental health issues come from, right? Because a lot of people don't know. We talk about trauma-informed care. So in talking about that, we first talk about trauma. As a coach, when I first started, those are things that I did not learn. And so we want to teach about that because, again, kids are going through so much. And then they come to your space, and sometimes they look to your space to be that safe space. So we want to make sure that we're helping coaches provide that safe space. So we talk about that. We talk about trauma-informed care. We talk about ways that, you can make your space safe, how you can allow kids to collaborate in the activities that you're doing to make them feel more comfortable. So we provide all of those things. In our workshops where we talk about athletes of color or serving youth of color or serving youth that identify as LGBTQ plus, that's where we also focus on those different aspects of youth and talk about the history and then talk about making them feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we don't have that background. And so we want to, again, make sure that the coaches feel comfortable when, kids that, identify as, different genders, how to feel safe and make those kids feel safe, because you don't want them not coming to your space because they don't feel comfortable.
And how do sports organizations find you? And do you find that do they find you in time, or do they find resources like yours in time? Or is it when, for prevention of trauma or crisis? Is it when things have gotten to...
Just a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
So we had been doing some workshops, but of course, once COVID happened, we did get a lot of inquiries about how to deal with that, because once COVID happened, there was a lot of trauma that not only kids were dealing with, but adults were dealing with as well. So we had kids in COVID conversations, and how to deal with, the isolation, the loss, those things. So it could be that people are reaching out to us because trauma has happened, but also people come to us as prevention before something happens, which is the best, to come to us before something happens, developing safe spaces for kids before something happens.
Right.
So this is through networking. Before I even worked for Doc Wayne, I had known about Doc Wayne as a sport-based youth development organization. And so a lot of through networking, there are funders that are out there that will fund our resources for different organizations. And so if there are organizations that have difficulty, paying for our resources, there are funders that will assist with that as well.
So I didn't realize it was based in the Boston area where I am, but yeah. So do you get out here much?
Yes. So our individualized and group therapy is based in Boston.
Okay.
However, we are doing our external training. We've been doing that across the country. And we've also done some international training. So we've done last year we did training with Kenyan coaches. And so Yeah, so we've had a couple of trainings with Kenyan coaches, and one of our board members was able to go and visit them after we had done some of those
Mhm.
trainings. So that was awesome. Go visit, actually talk to those coaches. And again, we're looking to add to our curriculum assistance for coaches that are also dealing with trauma. And I personally saw that a lot when we were working with those Kenyan coaches. So we're talking to them about how to deal with their students or athletes, but they were asking questions about the trauma that they're dealing with as well. And
Yeah,
so we want
interesting.
to expand to, offer services for the coaches as well.
That must have been fascinating.
Yes,
Yeah,
very fascinating.
yeah, because just to get that different, like, it's like I at the head of the Charles, I interviewed my friend Sinead Fitzgibbon from Next Boat Works, interviewed the Ukrainian rowing team. So
Mm,
there were the women and the men came, and they're older, they're adults, but they were talking about, how the kids have kind of had the whole system has been completely interrupted by the war, and just the trauma that they're going through was deep. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, and so that kind of ties into the other workshop that I did on coach wellness.
At the US Rowing Convention. Yeah.
Yes. And
Mhm.
so, we talked about how coaches really need to look out for themselves in order to be present and coach their youth. And so we
Mhm.
talked about self-care, ways that coaches can kind of look out for themselves, um, utilize their support systems to be able to be present for their youth that they're working for.
Right. Because
Mhm.
like, I mean, you walk by people on the street, or the kids come down to the boathouse, and at any given time, they might be going through something intense.
Mhm.
You can just kind of assume that, so it's it's good to have those skills. I know when I did the safe sport training, because I'm on the board of a high school team here, and like just the being mindful of what's going on with kids, is really important.
I think I mentioned within the training that this is something that all coaches should do, and it can be very simple, and that's a check-in at the beginning
Yes.
of practice,
Mhm.
or in the middle of
Mhm.
practice, or at the end of practice, where you are checking in with your athletes just to see how they're doing. And we do that in staff meetings as well, just to check
Mhm.
to see how they're doing. And if you notice something, you can always check back with that athlete to say, I noticed that, when we did the check in, this is what you said. I just wanted to follow up. What was going on with that?
So, like, take them aside if you
Mm-hmm.
see that little, but you have to have the skills to kind of notice that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So some of
Yeah.
the things that you would want to be looking for is one, you want to have an understanding of all of your athletes so that you understand their baseline, so that you know when
Mhm.
there's going to be some
Mhm.
differences, right? And
Yeah.
so from there, our kids coming into practice now, more irritable. Are they more frustrated than normal?
Right.
Maybe someone that is usually really into practice, now they're a little bit more quiet, or they're withdrawn. um,
Mhm.
or physical things could be, they're having changes in their eating patterns, or their sleep patterns, or things like that,
Yeah.
weight loss or weight gain. Those are some of the signs that you can see, that would make you want to check in with your athlete.
Yeah. And you find that sports, the exercise of sports in a healthy, supportive environment can
Mhm.
be instrumental in helping kids get through things they might be going through.
Absolutely. I definitely believe so. And I believe
Mhm,
that that is why, I continue to play sports, why I wanted to be a coach,
mhm,
why I like being a mentor, because a lot of times when kids are having these issues, at home or at school, they're looking for that safe space and they want to come and be in your presence. And
right.
so, again, you want to make sure that
Mhm,
you can do whatever you can to make that an inviting, caring, supportive
yeah,
space for those kids to come to.
yeah. Well, I know when I get cranky and irritable and anxious and it's probably because I haven't been playing my or doing gone rowing lately. It's just like your body just needs that after a while, I think, and your
Mhm,
mind. Let
mhm.
me just mention a couple things. I just wanted to kind of check in. This is if you're listening on the podcast apps, we're on all the podcast apps. Ramona, Dr. Cox will be on your Apple Podcasts in a couple days. And we are ReadyRowUSA.com. So you can just search for Ready Row USA. And Pierce Press is my publishing company. It's one of our sponsors. Sweat equity sponsor. Laura Williams Pages is a sponsor. She does our websites and many other people's websites, a lot of campaigns, and WordPress is her specialty. Burnham Boat Slings, we love them. They're the best. Linda Murray from Burnham Boat was there at the convention, Ramona.
Okay.
You just have to get to know her. She's just the best. The
Okay.
whole company is great. They're up in New Hampshire near me, but so we're going to continue with our US Rowing Convention coverage special, since the convention was February 3rd to the 5th. And we missed a couple of people, so we're going to catch them. Jenny Treyas is coming on next week. And I think we're going to try and reschedule Mary Whipple, who was a Olympic coxswain of great note. And she has a company called the Ninth Seat, where she does, consulting and training and many, many wonderful things. Um, Ramona, or excuse me, Dr. Cox. Um, I was wondering, I just wanted to touch on kind of your background now that we kind of hear what you're doing. Like what I know you believe in sports as a way of life, kind of basically, but what did it do for you? What were your challenges? Did you recognize its value to your own personal development when you were growing up and a young adult?
Mhm. So there were many benefits. Um, and I think that it matches up with a lot of the research in terms of why kids participate in sport and why they continue to come back. And it aligns with the research that I've also done personally, specifically with girls, but it 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 follows a lot of, why kids participate. And one was it's fun, and that's the main reason that kids participate, right? And that ties with mental health. If
Mhm.
we're having fun, right, that is directly aligned to positive mental health. And for me, it was fun for me to be able to participate in a lot of different sports. So when I was younger in middle school, I didn't play just one sport. I
Mhm.
cheered, I played softball, I did track and field, I played basketball. And it allowed me to learn a lot of different things. It allowed me to meet a lot of people, had a lot of friends, allowed me to go to different places and, still have some of those friendships still.
Mhm.
And, were there adversities at times? Of course. But I think that some of those adversities definitely made me a better person. You know,
Okay.
there are stressors that athletes do have to deal with when it
Mhm.
comes to, participating in their sport at a higher level.
Sure.
And that is again why we need coaches there to help them deal with those stressors.
Mhm.
So as you are moving up and continuing that sports participation at the higher level, high school and college level, things like having to manage time, doing your sports and your academics, that is going to lead to you being able to do that in as an adult, as
Sure.
you start to, work. Um, Things like, playtime, things are not always going to go your way. So if you are wanting something, you have to work very hard for it.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
a life skill that you have to deal with. But it can be very difficult. And so
Yeah.
that is where these coaches come in to help support athletes in learning that life skill. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Uh, And I can walk into a boathouse and I'll see a lot of people like me in there, white people.
mhm,
Um, that's one thing we're trying to change about rowing,
mhm.
many of us. But is that a stressor for kids of color or different communities, different backgrounds? I mean,
Mhm.
that
So
can be.
I
Mhm.
think there are, but there are particular cultural things that can be a stressor. And
Mhm.
so this is really falls into, the research that I did that um, lends itself to the barriers for girls not participating in sport.
Yeah.
Things like not having transportation, not having the money to participate in sport. So I don't know how much it costs to row, but I know in volleyball, club volleyball is very expensive. I don't have the money, so I can't participate. That lends itself to them not having, some scholarship opportunities potentially,
And
right?
getting to the elite level if that's within
Exactly.
their skill set. Yeah.
Right. Um,
Right. Mhm.
Helping girls of color deal with, how do I manage my hair?
Mm.
Because when it gets sweaty, it's a little bit more difficult to manage.
Yeah.
Um,
That's really a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
other girls may not have to deal with that.
Mhm.
So there are some race and cultural things that girls of color have to deal with and that we have to consider to help them navigate in order to
Mhm.
get them to participate in sport.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
it can be a stressor.
Yeah, I hear a lot about that.
Mhm.
Those guys, did you meet the Kyle Williams and Kamal Carter at from A Long Talk?
I had to leave when they were doing the
Oh yeah.
airport when they
I did an interview with them too, and
okay.
I think we're gonna start kind of like a series with them because that was such a powerful
Mhm.
message that they had, and
Mhm.
it's we're gonna collaborate. But
That's awesome.
um yeah, yeah. So what's next for you and for Doc Wayne and Champions? Do you have any big projects in the works? Are you hiring? Like do you like what's going on?
Yeah, so we have a number of trainings that are coming up. And as I mentioned, we have a ton of things that are nationwide. So I do travel, even though I'm based in Detroit. When we have trainings in different cities, different states, I do travel to do those trainings. One of our biggest is a partnership with ESPN that
Wow.
we have right now. So this partnership will allow us to do trainings in Los Angeles, Charlotte, and New York. And so
Fantastic.
we are working on that right now. So we'll be
Yeah.
doing trauma-informed care uh, trainings there. And then we will also be doing trainings that our clinicians do in
Mhm.
Boston. So we'll be training them on those the curriculum that they do. So that is exciting because we'll be able to spread again the message. We're not just based in Boston, we're able to spread this message, nationwide. and we'll be working with different coaches and, boys and girls clubs, after school programs to be able to help coaches again support their athletes.
Yeah, well, I think what you do is really important, and I'm really it's an honor to meet you and to be able to talk with you and help spread the word. It's going to be good for all of us if you succeed. So
thanks. Need it.
Yeah, let's continue to talk about this and keep me posted. I'd love to get the word out about what you do, and we've connected on social media and so forth. And let's continue to do that. Maybe we'll check in about 6 months and see how things are going. Have a little spotlight or something. I'd like to invite people, besides, subscribing to our YouTube channel and our podcast channels. It really helps. So it helps us get the word out about things that people like Dr. Cox are doing, and the long talk, and I don't know, Arshay Cooper, and and many people who are trying to expand the sport and improve the sport of rowing. So that it helps us. That's what we want to do. We're dedicated to that this year.
Yes. Find more information on our website, which is docwayne.org. And then we're also on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yeah, excellent. And those are all linked on your website, right? On Doc Wayne.
Yes.
Yeah, right. If people want to be a part of the podcast that are live stream, submit your club news and your gadgets and gear, and we'll do a club spotlight. We love to get little rowing clubs in like rural Virginia or wherever you are, and just like drop in and see what works for you, what doesn't, whether you need you're hiring somebody, or you bought a new boat, or it's just like random stuff that tells a story of rowing is what we're about. And we really appreciate everybody listening. We have one comment. Rebecca Roulier. Oh, thank you, Rebecca, for coming by. And we have several other live listeners. Please continue to do this. It's really much more interesting when we have live interaction. So, this was interesting, but it's fun. It's fun.
Deputy director at Doc Wayne.
What's that?
Becky is the deputy director at Doc Wayne. So thanks.
Excellent, Becky. Thank you for dropping by. And Dr. Cox, you are the best. I really appreciate what you're doing, and I'll see you again when we have you back on for an update.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take care.
All right.